What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Ash Vibe Show, where you come to
Vibe with the tribe.
I'm your boy Malik Harris,
Mackie Totocini.
and we are watching the complicated relationship of Jayce and Viktor.
Yes.
Obviously, you guys know we were watching Arcane Season 2.
Yes.
So, yeah, we were already planning on watching this dynamic, just because reading the lore and stuff like that, and knowing something about the lore, you already know they have complicated past, or I did, reading into certain parts. And then the show just kicked that up to full blast in this Act 2. Yeah, I did not expect for it to go that hard. If you guys haven't seen it, we're not going to spoil it.
Nope.
But you guys should definitely stop this. Go and watch that.
Before you come and watch this.
I would. It's been out for a while now. If you haven't, then definitely go and watch that.
You'd be a smart individual
Yeah,
to go stop this and go watch that.
Yeah, because we're definitely going to refer to that a good amount. But yeah, man, I don't really have too much to say because I feel like this is going to fill in a lot of different stuff. We can pause it throughout like how we typically do. But yeah, I need to know what the fuck. I need to get more explanation. Obviously, we know that our Arcane universe has become like the new canon, so a lot of this past stuff is, potentially being changed or retconned or whatever the case is. But that's okay. I know a lot of people who are big lore fans don't like that, but I mean, if you're fans of a lot of the other IPs that have transitioned from like comic books to adaptations or animated adaptations, sometimes you don't have a choice but to change things, and it's for the better of the bigger picture. So I think this is one of those cases where Riot has a good handle on what they're doing. It seems like all the changes that I've seen them make so far have been for the better. I think even Jayce, I know he's kind of an asshole and shit like that. I won't get too much in that, but I even feel like this mystery of like who's good and who's bad, even knowing the lore, I was still watching it kind of confused. Like I don't know what the fuck's happening. So that's good storytelling. So all right, let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
Hello everyone and welcome! As we keep crossing champions off of our Piltover and Zone list, we get more and more detail about the machinery and inventions our champions work with. And today we will expand it with the story of Jayce.
This is going to be insightful. Honestly.
Jayce was a fortunate child, for he was blessed with perfect circumstances. Being born in Piltover with incredible intelligence opened many windows for him. He was raised up under principles that made the city great. Invention, discovery, not going to zone if possible. With his talent for understanding machinery, Jayce became the youngest apprentice to ever join Clan Jayopara, one of Piltover's most respected ruling clans. He spent most of his early years constructing potential hextech devices and transformable multi-tools for Piltover's workers. A wrench that transformed into a pry bar, a pickaxe that could morph into a shovel, a hammer that could turn into a demolition beam, but most of them required more powerful batteries. Most things came easy to Jayce, and he could never understand why his colleagues had so much trouble with what to him were simple concepts. As a result, nearly everyone who worked with Jayce found him arrogant, dismissive, and unwilling to slow his pace to help others. As time went on, his patience became shorter and his behavior worse.
Arcane.
Only one person ever matched Jayce's intelligence, all while keeping the same level of superior attitude. His name was Viktor. The two met each other at a mandatory Progress Day party, and immediately bonded over how little either of them wanted to be there. They started working together shortly after. Viktor expanded Jayce's intellectual horizons and questioned his every decision. Jayce wanted to improve humanity through his versatile technology, while Viktor worked on humanity's bigger problems. He focused on physical decay or illogical prejudices. They constantly argued, but it never got personal. They both knew their ultimate goals were the same, even if their methods were different. More than that, they both knew what it was to be shunned by their colleagues. Viktor because of his unconventional thinking, Jayce because of his rudeness. Together, Jayce and Viktor invented a mechanized construction suit for the dock workers. It was hard enough to enhance the worker's strength, but light enough not to drown him immediately if he fell overboard. But things changed when Viktor came in with the newest version of the suit.
So crazy.
It required a
Definitely looks
Chemtech
different from
implant
the,
that would
Arcane
increase
season.
strength output by tenfold, while also preventing them from getting tired, panicking, or disobeying instructions. While Viktor saw this feature as a brilliant idea to reduce the frequency of construction accidents, for Jayce it was immoral to take away someone's free will. The two almost fought each other over the following arguments, and in the end, Jayce warned the Academy of Viktor's invention. After that, Viktor was stripped of his honors and was kicked from Piltover's scientific community. Viktor was the closest thing Jayce ever had to a real friend, and now he went back to working alone, and even became more isolated. As Jayce studied on his own, Clan Jayopharah's
Damn, that already is such a different parallel. I mean, with that, yeah, it just paints Jayce as just being kind of asshole, is what it sounds like a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah, in this version, they're kind of an asshole, which I kind of already knew that part. But yeah, it's kind of weird because it's almost like he created his own. Or I guess we don't know if Viktor is technically a villain in this whole craziness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We haven't seen episode 7, 8, 9 at this point in time. Gotten the vibe that Viktor is just going to take his good intentions, you know what I mean? Even like right here, he's trying to take away human free will and all that good stuff. Yeah. Seems like that's kind of the same direction in the story, but yeah, the way that Jayce went about it is kind of crazy. I know.
Got him kicked out. That's kind of messed up.
I know.
They didn't even have like an actual like a trial or anything like that. They just heard about it and then they're like, "Yep, nope, you're done."
With him being from a prestigious family and stuff too, it's just like, damn, you couldn't just work with them or
talk it over.
But I guess they're arguing.
I guess Jayce did that with Heimerdinger.
Yeah. But he really didn't. It's like the board voted him off, huh?
Right, but I mean, Jayce was pretty much like, "Hey, I want to improve and advance our people with Hestek," and then Heimerdinger was like,
"Oh, I
nah.
see." In the reverse, reverse positions. Yeah. Interesting.
Explorers discovered a raw blue crystal deep within Shuriman's deserts. Though Jayce volunteered to experiment on it, specifically by suggesting that others wouldn't be smart enough to get anything out of it, Clan Jayopharah decided to give it to their better-mannered scholars as a form of punishment. Yet, after many months, the scholars reached a united conclusion. The crystal was worthless, a power-drained piece of rock. Then the disappointed leaders finally gave it to Jayce, assuming that even he, with his remarkable intelligence, wouldn't be able to learn anything from it. But something inside the crystal called to Jayce. No, more than that, it sang to him. He couldn't explain why, but he knew the Shuriman gem still had mysteries yet to be discovered. He spent many months running every possible test on the crystal. He put it in a cogwheel centrifuge, he superheated it and deep froze it. It was the first time Jayce actually had to work hard to crack the mystery. And it was the first time he realized what it must have been for others to work with him while trying to solve a problem. It felt frustrating and unfair. And he realized it probably felt much worse if you were working alongside an arrogant inventor who dismissed your every effort. But he remembered that despite his own behavior, his fellow scholars never gave up. None of them ever stopped seeking the very things that defined Piltover: progress and discovery. And if they wouldn't give up, Jayce decided he wouldn't either. And maybe he would try to be nicer. Maybe. Jayce approached the problem from a different angle. Rather than testing the crystal as a whole, he chipped off a piece of it and put it in a liquid alloy. As he sent electric energy through the liquid metal, Jayce's eardrums nearly shattered from the booming baritone notes that blasted from the shard. Heat radiated from the crystal, and with a flash it glowed so bright it nearly blinded him. It was unexpected, it was potentially dangerous, but it was progress. Jayce couldn't erase the smile from his face as he worked well through the night into the dawn. The next day, Jayce was surprised to find his old friend Viktor on his doorstep. Alerted by the massive power spike from the crystal shard, Viktor had a simple proposition. Since he got kicked from the Piltover scientific community, Viktor had to work on a secret project in Zone. He finally found a way how to achieve his dreams, how to get rid of disease, hunger and hatred. If Jayce joined him, the two would accomplish much more than anyone from Piltover or Zone could have dreamed of. They would save humanity from itself. Jayce heard words like these from Viktor before. He never liked the way they went. Viktor told Jayce that he only needed one thing for his glorious evolution, a powerful source like the crystal. Jayce disagreed, informing Viktor that what he truly needed was a moral compass. But Viktor grew tired of Jayce's rudeness. Without question, he grabbed the crystal and knocked Jayce unconscious with it.
Damn.
When Jayce awoke hours later, he noticed that though the crystal was gone, Viktor left the chipped piece of it behind. Jayce knew that whatever was Viktor's plan, he would only attack him if he was close to completion. Even though he didn't know what the glorious evolution was, it probably didn't have a lot of respect for the free will of others. Without wasting a second, Jayce grabbed the crystal shard and installed it into a massive transforming hammer. It was a demolition invention he abandoned years ago because he didn't have anything to power it up. He had no idea where Viktor went with the crystal, but it seemed like the hammer was dragging him the right way, as if the crystal wanted to be complete again. It didn't pull him north, south, east or west. It pulled him down to the undercity of Zone. Eventually, it led him to a warehouse in the depths of the sump. Inside this building, Jayce found something horrifying.
Okay.
That looks like Singed.
Looks like Singed. Yeah. And the crazy part is like, with like Viktor's mentality feels a lot more like Singed. The whole like trying to heal death and all these different things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's interesting because if we would have like dove this deep into their lore already, then we probably would have like really known those signs of like, oh, you're working for Singed. That's a bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess until this season, we didn't really know Singed was trying to cure death per se until he started talking about his daughter and like revealed all that stuff.
Just
So
a mad scientist.
yeah, doing whatever he was doing.
Honestly,
Sick man.
made shimmer and all that nasty stuff.
Yeah, and it's so crazy, yeah, because all the shimmer, like I haven't seen them talk about shimmer, any of that type of stuff. It's all it's all the future, I guess. I guess this is all supposed to be Arcane's before all of this. You know what I mean? But if you guys haven't seen our Warwick and Singed video, we actually posted that a little while ago too. You guys can go check that out, and you'll see like all the information, our conversation on that, and everything as well.
All of it.
Yeah. But yeah, man, just interesting. It's interesting because also with the unrefined crystal too. The one that they pulled up right there looked like it was purple, so it felt more like Neutropia. Because in my whole shared fantasy universe, we have like crystals that hold an energy charge, and they use it in weapons and things like that, and crush it down for powders and all kinds of different things. So I thought it was going in that same direction, which I mean, I guess it's kind of along the same lines. But how they showed it here compared to like the show, where it's like that refined ball, like almost like a battery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very refined, closed off battery though. Feels a lot different here. Like he just took kind of the raw shard, threw it in there, and then he's just going with the weapon now.
Yeah, because when they first originally had the Hestech, it was all rugged and rough looking.
Oh,
And
was
then
it?
when they perfected it and actually were able to condense it and make actually
Oh,
a
that's
perfect, that's
right.
when they made it into the actual ball.
Yeah, and then they improved on
Yeah.
it. But that's so crazy because this is supposed to be like I take it in the future, or I don't know. Now this is kind of confusing. And this is why we also can't just stick to too much of this because things have changed. So,
Yes.
But this is definitely watching this is gonna make me go back and rewatch that first season again and just kind of see what were they thinking when they evolved.
Make the improvement of Piltover. That's it.
Dozens
talking
of
about the writers.
corpses,
Oh,
their skulls sawed
Why they made
open
the
and
change for
hollowed
the lore.
out. Their brains were transplanted into an army of immobile metal soldiers hooked up to the now pulsing crystal. This was the first step in Viktor's glorious evolution. Jayce grew less confident as he approached. He and Viktor had not always seen eye to eye, but this was something entirely different. For the first time, it occurred to Jayce that he might have to kill his old friend. He called out to Viktor, flinching as the army of robots stood to attention. Jayce asked him to look around, to see what he was doing. Whatever this was, this evolution wasn't the progress they worked hard to achieve. To Viktor's surprise, Jayce even apologized for acting like a jerk. Viktor sighed. He only had 2 words in response. Kill him. The automaton sprinted toward Jayce, breaking free of the wires connecting them to the crystal. Jayce got introduced to a new emotion: panic. He gripped the hammer tightly, realizing he had never used it before. When the first golem was within reach, he swung as hard as he could, feeling the shard's energy surge through his muscles, accelerating the hammer's movement until Jayce was worried it might fly out of his hands. It slammed into the robot, exploding it into a hail of metal. The other machines didn't even pause as they rushed at Jayce, trying to pummel him into unconsciousness. Jayce analyzed their formation, figuring out how to take all of them down with the lowest number of swings. But it was pointless. They were too fast, and before he even had the chance to swing once, they were already on him, covering him with a storm of hits. Jayce saw Viktor looking on, not in triumph, but in sadness. He had outsmarted Jayce and ensured humanity's future, but he knew that future came at a cost. He couldn't let his old friend live. Jayce vanished under a sea of swinging metal limbs. That's when Jayce, for the first time in his life, decided to stop thinking and just break stuff. No longer caring for his own safety, Jayce used all of his strength to break free. He sprinted to the glowing crystal and struck it with all the force his hammer could muster, crushing the mystical object. Viktor cried out in horror as the crystal shattered to fragments. The shockwave blasted them backward as the army of robots collapsed. The very foundation of the warehouse shook, and Jayce barely managed to escape before the entire building toppled. Viktor's body was never found. When Jayce returned to Piltover, he told his masters of Viktor's plans. Soon, Jayce found himself a topic of discussion in both Zaun and Piltover alike. He became a beloved figure, at least amongst those who hadn't met him, earning himself a nickname, the Defender of Tomorrow. Jayce cared little for the adoration of his fellow Piltovans, but he took the nickname to heart. He knew that Viktor was still out there, plotting his revenge, and one day, maybe someday soon, an awful lot of trouble was headed to Piltover.
Damn.
Good story, man.
A quick fix.
As time went by, Jayce returned to his work, but never let...
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot more sense now. I really do like Jayce's character a lot more in this. It's a lot. I think because he was such like a nice guy, and he showed like the vulnerability and stuff, and like in the Arcane show.
Yeah.
And then having Mel be there, I'm like, damn. Yeah, I remember being at a point where I'm like, damn, he seems so vulnerable. It made me feel like, damn, is Mel gonna do something to try to get over on him? Right. You know. And then even when he brought, again, if you guys haven't seen season 2, go watch that. But if he, when he brought back Viktor in the first act, you know what I mean, and he put the machine on him and stuff like that, you can tell that, like, Viktor obviously said he didn't want to do that and this and that, but you can tell that Jayce was only trying to do it out of an emotional response. Like, he was like, whoa,
Trying to help you, my friend.
yeah, like, you were already kind of doing this, you know what I mean? And I don't know, I can't remember if he knew what happened to Sky.
He didn't.
Yeah, Jayce didn't know, huh?
No, Jayce didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't think he knew. If we're wrong, correct us, just in case I'm not remembering it right. But yeah, if he didn't know too, then he doesn't really know why he doesn't like it all of a sudden. He just knows that he did this and this healed him at one point in time. And at that time, I remember saying, like, Jayce clearly probably had a concussion. He probably was like, you know, it's spur of the moment. Yeah. You don't really know what someone wants until you kind of have a conversation with him. So I think even getting the opportunity, you know, seeing if it worked, bringing him back, now you can have the opportunity, like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, I did this because blah, blah. If Jayce, I feel like if Viktor at that moment was like, no, I didn't want to live, and this is kind of dark, but he could have left and went and committed suicide or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he genuinely was like, nah, this is not, you know what I mean? And that's why, like, I remember watching that and kind of feeling like, I don't know who's wrong in this situation, but I feel like it's hard to blame Jayce in this moment of, like, craziness, you know what I mean? So yeah, interesting stuff. That duality in the writing that they added is a nice touch, because here it seems like, yeah, they're making it seem like Jayce is just an asshole, you know,
arrogant person. Smarter than everybody.
Right. Yeah, and he only relied on, like, his intelligence. But in the show, you saw him when he was in there working, creating this shit. He was like jacked and shit like that. So it's like, yeah, crazy stuff. And they make him look like that in the game. So I'm glad that they explained those pieces, because that would have been kind of weird to be like. Yeah.
This guy just has these big boulder shoulders, and
he's a scientist.
Like, what?
Yeah. So
swinging a big ass hammer, bro.
Exactly.
I hope he has some muscles or something.
One day I woke up and I just had the Spider-Man effect.
Orchestra's been the Heztech powering him too, because he said every time he used a hammer, he felt a charge within his body.
Oh, the next tech?
Yeah, that's what he was explaining into that. It could have been. I don't know.
Maybe.
Down his guard. He realized predicting Viktor was very easy. If one weren't a fool, one might even predict the exact date and time of an attack. And Jayce wasn't a fool. He stood in his workshop, surrounded by dozens of his inventions. Boots that could walk on any surface, a bag with articulated limbs which kept the user's tools within reach. But greater than all of these was Jayce's hammer, which he now tossed from hand to hand as if it was any other tool. 3 sharp taps echoed from Jayce's door. They were here, and he was prepared. He had ran experiments on one of Viktor's robots which he left behind. He even intercepted the mechanical communications. Any second they would beat down his front door and try to rip away his hextech hammer. After that they would try to do the same with his skull. Try being the operative word. He flicked a switch on his hammer and it transformed into a hextech blaster. He took an aim and stood his ground. The door opened, his finger ready on the trigger. And he almost blasted a 7-year-old girl's head off. She was tiny and blonde, adorable to anyone who wasn't Jayce. She walked in with shuffling, tentative steps. She kept her head down as she approached Jayce. He thought of 2
All I can think of is season 1 where he blasted that kid off the edge. And if you guys have seen our reaction to that, I'm with like Derek and DeAndre, and they're just like, "Fuck that kid!" Like, well, she's going crazy, and I'm over here like morally questioning like who I'm sitting next to, and they're over here like, "Oh, that kid set off the alarm and got people killed. That kid's up." Well, it was a crazy ass conversation. If you guys seen it, you guys know what I'm talking about. It just reminded me that I can't just watch this whole thing without sharing that little piece of knowledge. I see this girl and I'm just like, damn, she's about to get blasted.
Oh man, those guys are ridiculous.
Jesus Christ. All right, let's jump.
reasons why she would avoid eye contact. Either she was hugely impressed to be in his presence, or she was working for Viktor and was about to surprise him with a chem bomb. Her blushing indicated it was the first option. "My soldier broke," she said, holding a limp metal knight, its arm bent backward. "Please leave or you'll probably die." The child stared at him. "Also, I don't fix dolls. Find someone with more time on their hands." Tears began to well up in her eyes. "I don't have any money for an artificer. My ma," she said, stifling a sob. "Mother made him for me before she passed," and Jayce furrowed his brow, and for the first time in quite a while, he blinked. "If it's so precious to you, why did you break it?" "I didn't mean to. I took him to the Progress Day feast and somebody bumped into me and I dropped him. And I knew I should have just left him at home." "Yes, you should have. That was stupid of you." The girl opened her mouth to speak, then stopped herself. Jayce had seen this kind of reaction before. Everyone he met had heard the stories of his legendary hammer and unyielding heroism. They expected grandeur, they expected humility, they expected him not to be a massive jerk. Jayce inevitably disappointed them. "What's wrong with you?" she asked. "Most facets of my personality, so I've been told," he replied without hesitation. The child furrowed her brow. She shoved the broken doll in his face. "Fix it, please." "You'll just break it again." "I won't." "Look," he said, "little girl, I'm very busy and..." Something flitted across the skylight, casting a quick shadow on the two of them. Anyone else would have assumed it was nothing more than a falcon passing overhead. Jayce knew better. He fell silent.
Probably a
A smile
distraction.
spread across his face as he yanked the girl toward his workbench. "The thing is," he said, "machines are very simple." He lifted a large thin sheet of bronze and began to hammer its corners with sharp taps. "They're made of discrete parts. They combine and recombine in clear, predictable ways." He beat the sheet over and over until it took the form of a smooth dome. "People are more complicated. They are emotional, they are unpredictable, and, in nearly every case, they are not as smart as me," he said, drilling a clean hole into the top of the dome. "Now, usually, that's the problem. But sometimes their stupidity works in my favor. Is this still about my doll, or..." Sometimes they are so insecure in their inferiority, so desperate to take their revenge that they make a foolish mistake. He grabbed a shining copper rod and screwed it into the center of the dome. Sometimes people fail to protect their most precious assets. He sat nodding at her tin soldier before holding aloft the newly formed metal umbrella. And sometimes that means instead of assaulting my workshop through the more obvious front door, they try to take, he looked upward, the more dramatic approach. He handed her the umbrella, which took all of her strength to keep aloft. Hold this, don't move. She opened her mouth in response, but she was interrupted as the skylight shattered above them. Glass bounced off the umbrella as half-dozen men leapt down to the floor. Tubes of bright green chems connected the base of their necks to their limbs. Their eyes were dead, their faces emotionless. They were the drugged punks from Zone, whom Viktor had pumped full of hallucinogens and hypnotics. They turned toward Jayce and the girl. Before they reached them, Jayce's Hextech blaster exploded and fired a lightning shot. It exploded in the middle of the group and made them slam into the walls. So much for the element of surprise, huh, Viktor? A hulking brute of a machine leapt down amongst the pile of unconscious chem slaves. To Jayce, it looked like something between a minotaur and a very angry building. "Watch out!" the girl yelped. Jayce rolled his eyes. "I'm watching him, stop panicking. I have this situation well in... he said, interrupted as the metal beast rammed into his chest. The beast sent Jayce hurling backward. He landed on a rolling cart, his back cracking from the impact. Grunting, he pulled himself to his feet as the beast charged again. "That's the last time you touched me," he said. Jayce swung his Hextech weapon as hard as he could, transforming it back into hammer mid-swing. The Minotaur lowered its head to ram Jayce again, foolishly ignoring the weapon's arc. The hammer found its mark with a resounding crunch. The Minotaur's head caved all the way back into its neck and collapsed on the floor. Jayce pulled back the hammer again, readying for another attack. A few minutes passed. Soon enough, he seemed satisfied the assault was over. He tried to step back toward the workbench, only to double over in pain, grasping at his stomach. The girl rushed to his side.
Oh.
"Still hurts where he tackled you, huh?" "Obviously." "Then maybe you shouldn't have let him," she said. "That was stupid of you." Jayce raised an eyebrow at the kid. Her eyes widened, unsure if she'd crossed the line. A smile crept across his face. "What was your name?" "Amaranthine." Jayce sat at his workbench and grabbed a screwdriver. "Give me the doll, Amaranthine," he said. A massive grin broke out on her face.
So you said that for a minute. I thought it was Oriana.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I literally I thought that was gonna be her, but yeah, that's not. Yeah. Is that why you were like, huh?
Yeah, I was kind of
okay.
like, huh.
Yeah, it got my almost got the gears turning, but
It's not.
yeah, I don't know, man. This girl might still be an op. I was wondering if she was still gonna be holding the umbrella, because I was gonna say if she's still holding the umbrella, didn't you say this was heavy? You're not a human. You're a robot. Hit that Jayce episode.
Spitting hammer
Go ahead and
fist
splat her.
backwards.
I'm sorry.
I'm
That'd have been
sorry,
epic.
little one.
"So you can fix it?" Jayce smirked at her. "There is nothing I can't fix."
Yeah, Thanos did that.
Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the story of Jayce. Did you enjoy it? Because if you did, you should subscribe and
was
possibly
entertaining.
click the bell button,
Honestly,
because
yeah.
Viktor's story is on its way. For any possible chatting, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and you can join
Follow the boy. He's lit.
Follow Necrit.
Yes, in the description as always,
Yep.
post his page and this original video, so you can go and check him out, pull up his the rest of his channel. Always, we do a bunch of different lore videos connecting things and trying to add other elements and stuff like that. But if you guys want to get ahead or check out other characters or just get content faster without our commentary, definitely go check out Necrit's channel. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're just using this as good information, try to add an element of other elements and conversation pieces around it and stuff like that, add on to it.
It's kind of weird, like you were saying, how a lot of the Arcane is going to be now canon with the League of Legend now characters. So even though we're getting all this information from this previous Jayce, I still am very intrigued and like how both of these characters intertwine, that they're so far different from each other that it's gonna be very tricky to see how they're gonna like actually like put this in, unless they're just gonna get rid of all of this Jayce and League of Legends like story and then just go back and just do all of just the Jayce and Arcane season.
From like a writing perspective, and this is so we've seen like a lot of thousands of comments at this point from different League of Legends stuff.
Yeah.
From Arcane season 1, just all these different theories and stuff like that. We also have the Discord and stuff like that where we have a bunch of talks, and I think everyone has their own perspective on how they view change. You know what I mean? I think when it comes to what the purpose of Arcane is, I think if you're a League fan, you kind of have a certain expectation. If you're a newcomer watching Arcane, you have a certain expectation.
Yeah.
But I think when you create like a new piece of a new medium, a new piece of art, you kind of have to focus on that piece of art in the moment. Other things can add to it or contribute to it, but you can't really let other things like dictate the full direction of this piece of art, because even though this is cinematic world of things, you kind of have to pay respect to the wherever it came from, but that can't be the priority. And I think sometimes the reason that can't be a priority is because when things transition from let's say like comic book to movie, certain things on the screen or certain things that were in comic book are not going to make sense or look good in the movies. Those old costumes and those old this and that. I think for developing Jayce's entire storyline, because right now he's like emotionless right now. You know what I mean? Like he's very much like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. They still used him to make like he was still comedic in a way. You know what I mean? Almost like that dry humor. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to him in a love life, I don't know how Jayce would work with the love elements with Mel and stuff like that, because he's not emotionally vulnerable, so it wouldn't even work in that way. And I think that's the part that people get caught up on. Like, I do like this version of Jayce, but for what they were trying to do and accomplish with all the stories connecting, I don't know if this version of Jayce would have held up. But I am interested in your guys' perspective as well. If you guys have like how you guys would write it or something like that, definitely write that in the comments. I've seen people write entire multiple page essays in the comics. So if you post it, we will read it for sure. You know what I mean?
And I don't think Mel was in this until just recently.
She wasn't, so that's all I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. It just adds a whole nother dynamic, and you kind of need all those stories to work, so that way you can introduce League of Legends faster. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's tricky stuff. But it was good. I like this Jayce. I think he's funny. He's an asshole, but it's just like,
an arrogant asshole at that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I don't see any other people. Like, we went through his whole lore. There were no other connecting characters. They didn't talk about any family members. They didn't talk about any brothers, sisters. He just seems like he's very much just him and his work. You know what I mean? So very interesting. I'm interested to see Viktor's side of things now.
Yeah. Can't wait to see if he's actually gonna be like metal, like how he was in Arcane, like life form metal.
Yeah, like organic type of metal, or if it's just like more robot parts.
He's just gonna build and install onto himself.
Yeah.
Warning: this video will reference Jayce's story many times. If you really want to get the full experience, go and watch that story first. I know it is 20 minutes, but trust me, it will be worth it.
I know, right?
Hello everyone and welcome. Last time we talked about the famous inventor and the hero of Piltover, Jayce. But that whole story was told from his view. So let's have a look at what really happened.
You know what's crazy? He has that leg brace. That's the same
Viktor was
side
born in Zone,
knee brace
on
that
the
Jayce
borders
had
of the Entersol level.
in Arcane.
With his parents being inventors, it was very easy for them to ignite the passion for invention and building within him. He devoted every minute to his studies. He would hate to interrupt his work even to eat or sleep. Even during the usual cam spills, accidental detonations, or incoming cam clouds, Viktor was ready to quickly relocate if needed. Abandoning his work, even for a short time, was a nightmare to Viktor. Because these accidents were quite common, Viktor had the chance to study them, and upon closer inspection he realized that almost all of them were the result of human error, not a mechanical failure. He offered his services to the local businesses, developing inventions that would make them far safer working environments. Most turned him away, but one, the Fredersen Chemforge, agreed to try it out. Viktor's inventions in automation reduced the number of accidents in the forge to 0 within a month, and soon his work spread and became common in Zone. improving production with every innovation that removed human error from a process. Eventually, at the age of 19, he was surprised to be offered a place in Zone's prestigious Academy of Thaumaturgy. But
That place that they just addressed, this is a question for you guys. What is it, Fredrickson Kimforge?
Yeah.
Does Camille's family own that? I can't remember. 'Cause I know Camille's family like worked with different people. I don't know. You guys, yeah, let me know if that's what that is or not for whoever knows. I'd appreciate it.
Viktor's work had
Camille's like
attracted
the
the
agent
eye
guy,
of
or
Professor
agent girl with the
Stanwyck of
legs,
Piltover,
the
who
knife
convinced
legs.
him to leave
Oh,
Zone
yeah,
and
yeah.
travel to Piltover's academy instead.
Stanwyck.
There he could work in the most advanced laboratories and gain access to all resources he needed. Viktor accepted the offer, moved up to Piltover, and began upgrading his inventions so they could benefit everyone. He worked with Piltover's best and brightest, including the insufferable genius called Jayce. The two matched in intellect, but where Viktor was methodical, logical, and thorough, Jayce was flamboyant and arrogant. They worked together frequently, but they never truly became friends. They would often argue over their perceptions of intuition against logic, but a level of respect held them back as they both saw the flawed brilliance in the other. One day, Viktor's work was interrupted by a major chem spill that devastated entire districts of Zone. He immediately left Piltover and returned to Zone to help those in need. Viktor crafted a complicated series of cognitive loops and installed them onto an existing robot. This is how he created a custom-built golem, Blitzcrank, to help him with the cleanup. Blitzcrank was instrumental in saving countless lives and appeared to develop a level of sentience beyond anything Viktor imagined. Even with the spill contained, Viktor stayed in Zone and helped those afflicted by the toxins. With the golem's help, he tried to use his thaumaturgical talents to save those whose lives have been blighted by the spill. Their attempt was ultimately unsuccessful in preventing more deaths, and the two separated. Though
The
all
gold
the
design's
death
kinda
in
hard.
Zone worried Viktor, these events taught him a lot about merging of human anatomy with technology. When Viktor returned to Piltover weeks later, he found out that Professor Stanwyck presented Blitzcrank to the Academy as his own.
Yeah, that's
Viktor
right.
filed formal complaints with the masters of the college, but no one listened, even with all the proofs that Blitzcrank was his design. He turned to Jayce to verify his claims, but he refused to speak up, further widening the rift between them.
Of course.
In the end, the matter was decided in Professor Stanwyck's favor. Bitter but resigned, Viktor returned to his studies knowing that his ultimate goal of making people's lives better and enhancing humanity was more important than one stolen project and a bruised ego. He continued his work and found more ways to eliminate human error. Over time, this became the theme in all of his future inventions. He saw human involvement in any part of a process as a grossly inefficient aberration, a view that put him at odds with many of his fellow students and professors. They saw Viktor's work as an attempt to remove the source of human ingenuity and creativity. One day, Viktor collaborated with Jayce and worked on an improvement for a diving suit. The dock workers used these suits to keep Piltover's docks clear of underwater
suit,
debris
right?
and lingering chemical waste.
You know, the
Victor
accent.
and Jayce's enhanced suit
I'm
allowed
not-
the
no
workers to
disrespect.
go deeper, remain underwater
accent,
for
that's crazy,
longer,
yeah.
and lift heavier weights. But many of them swore
Okay.
they saw phantom corpse lights in the depths, or suffered from chem-inducted hallucinations. When divers experienced these symptoms, they panicked and often killed either themselves or their fellow workers. Viktor had a solution to this problem. He created a helm that allowed an operator on the surface to bypass the wearer's fear and effectively control the diver. A heated discussion between
pretty crazy.
Viktor and Jayce on free will and mental enslavement erupted. It looked like they were going to fight over it, but in the end, they vowed never to work together again. Jayce reported the incident to the college masters, and Viktor was censored for violating basic human dignity. Though in his eyes, his work would have saved many lives. He was expelled from the college and he retreated back to his old laboratory in Zone. disgusted by the narrow-minded perceptions of Piltovans.
It's crazy how, I mean, they didn't talk about Viktor being sick in
No.
this. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
no,
he
no.
was in Arcane, so that's interesting that they add that other element of trying to improve the human life, like starting from him being sick. You know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
way you kind of have more of that empathy for the character. I would say, which I feel like this kind of did a good job too as well, because I mean the fact that he created Blitzcrank and then he got betrayed in that way, and then having the whole council basically overlook it because all these different things, it kind of makes you look at people and kind of resent people for just being, whatever the case, just being assholes or whatever the case.
Right.
So when it led to him having the confrontation with Jayce, it's interesting that in his story they added that extra element to where now it's like this is the reason why he's doing these things. So, which I feel like that's cool, but I don't know if that's enough of a reason
To have control over somebody.
to control someone. So you know what I mean? Like that just doesn't seem. I feel like that if this was if they would have wrote it the same way as this in Arcane, then you would have been able to tell that he was a bad person from the very beginning.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, he was definitely has some intent into like saving people and making sure nobody else got killed in the
when
process.
he created Blitzcrank.
So it's just in his way. This was the only way, and how he saw that it was able to kind of help everybody in the workforce and Zon or whoever.
Yeah, man.
So I mean,
Yeah, but morals, man.
Yep.
Morals. We were talking about Singed in the one of the recent Arcane videos, and I think
going and doing
Demo.
those experiments and stuff on
Yeah,
people just
Demo.
to try to save his life.
Derek was saying that like he's actually I actually kind of see he's not such a bad person. We're like, nah, bro.
Nah, he did a
No,
lot of
Singe
things.
is not a good person. There's no.
We saw
there's no
decapitated heads in his office. We saw
Right.
a bunch of hearts and brains.
Right,
And, other
and it's
deformed.
it's the same thing as Viktor. I would say it's just
Yeah.
the lack of morality there. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Geniuses, man. I don't know what's up with them. They feel like they can just do whatever they want.
Alone in the depths, Viktor sank into a deep depression, enduring a traumatic period of interception for many weeks. He wrestled with the ethical dilemma he now faced, finding that, once again, human emotion and weakness had stood in his way. He had been trying to help others, to enhance people beyond their natural capabilities, to avoid error and save lives. Revelation came when he realized that he too had succumbed to such emotions. Viktor knew he could not expect others to follow where he did not go first. So in secret, he operated on himself to remove parts of flesh that relied upon or were inhabited by emotion. When the surgery was done, almost no trace of the young man who traveled to Piltover remained. Majority of his anatomy was now augmented, and his personality changed
Oh,
too.
that's why he's got the leg.
His hope for better society was refined into an obsession with what he called glorious evolution. Viktor now saw himself as the herald of Valorant's greater future. A dream where man would sacrifice flesh in exchange for superior augments.
Look at his
This would free humanity from fatal errors and suffering, though Viktor knew
Looks like ribs.
it would take time. He got back to work
Making me
with
hungry.
fresh inspiration.
Oh, wait. This man looks like Cabal. Wait, Cabal from Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
That is it? Yeah.
Yeah, Cabal.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like this design. It's a completely side note. That cape with the fucking panel, it looks like a bike chain. You know what I mean? Like how they have like the little
Oh, yeah,
links
I
in
kinda
them.
see it now.
Yeah, I just fucking ribs. That's crazy. But yeah, no, I like the rework that they've done on. I think there's an actual reworked video, a newer video of of Viktor actually, that someone had told us to watch. Which we're not going to put that in this video. I would try to avoid making these videos an hour long. If we can get it somewhere between like 30 to 45 minutes, that's ideal. You know what I mean? But yeah. We might watch that in another video. If you guys post down and let us know that rework video is like, kind of what it's about. If it's substantial, if it's going to add to this, if it's just a whole nother side concept, I would very much appreciate that. We also are thinking of doing a video after this with Blitzcrank, Oriana, and Camille. Maybe Janna, just because those are all people in Piltover and Zon who, basically characters that didn't get introduced in Arcane, but
yeah.
they are pretty big characters in the world and stuff like that. So let us know if you guys want that even, before we dive into that, and comment about the other video, Viktor's other rework video. Look at that stat.
Why you
bro.
hating,
Sorry,
bro?
I'm sorry.
Hating, man. Haterade. Been drinking some Haterade?
It's like he took off his human
He
parts.
used his augments
make
to
himself
rebuild
ugly.
Zoonites injured in accidents, perfected breathing mechanisms, and worked tirelessly to reduce human
Arm's
inefficiency
kinda
by
crazy.
The arm
decoupling
is dope.
physicality from emotion.
Look at him.
His work saved hundreds of lives, yet seeking Viktor's help could be dangerous. Sometimes there were unexpected consequences, but if you were desperate, Viktor was the man you went to. Some in Zone, hearing fragments of his philosophy and seeing the success of his work, saw him as a messianic figure. Viktor couldn't care less for them, viewing their religious cult as an aberration. It was
like an
exactly
Arcane.
what he worked to eliminate. Emotional bonds to something that couldn't be proven.
Yeah. He just
After
had
a toxic event in the sump
better
saw hundreds
intentions,
of
I
men and women in the factory
Okay.
woods transformed into psychotics, Viktor was forced to use a powerful sedative to calm the victims and bring them back to his labs to try and undo the damage. The toxins had begun to eat away portions of their brains, but Viktor was able to slow the degenerative process by opening up their skulls and employing machinery to slowly filter their bloodstream of poison.
Nigga, what?
But the technology available to him wasn't good enough, and
Damn.
Viktor knew many would die unless he found a way to greatly enhance the machinery. As he fought to save those people, he detected a surge of Hextech energy from Piltover, and he saw immediately that this could give
No, hold on. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can already see if they would have went this route. So you mean you drugged me, lured me to your lab, opened up my skull? It's already over. From that point, it's already bro.
Well, these are
There's
people
no way.
that went and volunteered themselves to get help.
No, didn't he say they went to the place and they were helped beyond belief, so he drugged them and then brought them to his lab? I
No,
don't think he.
they volunteered because they couldn't.
Well, he
get
said
any
he
other
gave him
help.
a set.
Yeah, sedatives to
thing.
help try to help him, but he didn't have the technology and the resources to help these people. That's when he's explaining right now. He felt and sensed that the surge.
So he
of
brought him to the
Hextech-
lab and then gave him this drug.
They came and went to his lab. Go ahead, rewind it. I'm telling you.
You're just not being very clear. I just want to understand.
event
for
in the
myself.
sump saw hundreds
the
of
comment if I
men
was
and
clear.
women in the factory woods transformed into psychotics. Viktor was forced to use a powerful sedative to calm the victims and bring them back to his labs to try and undo the damage.
See, you just had them. You see this? He just had you guys comment. Make sure you still post that comment. I need those comments for my own validation. No, okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. See, from that moment though, my point with that was just like from that moment, it's like, yeah, bro, yeah, no one told you to do that. That's the part where it's just like, why do you still think? But then he's still like, oh yeah, I'm helping these people, but yeah, bro, just like. You know, in the show, Jayce, you didn't ask Jayce to bring you back. These things didn't ask you to open up their skull, and that's crazy. Insane, man, insane.
The
Jesus.
toxins had begun to eat away portions of their brains, but Viktor was able to slow the degenerative process by opening up their skulls and employing machinery to slowly filter their bloodstream of poison. But the technology available to him wasn't good enough, and Viktor knew many would die unless he found a way to greatly enhance the machinery. As he fought to save those people, he detected a surge of Hextech energy from Piltover, and he saw immediately that this could give him the power he needed. He followed the powerful energy surge to its source, Jayce's lab. Viktor demanded Jayce to hand over the source of power, a pulsing Shuriman crystal, but his former colleague refused, leaving Viktor with no option but to take it by force.
Yeah.
He returned to Zone and hooked the crystal to his machinery, readying
I didn't
a
even know these
steam of
crystals
golem
were from
hosts for
Shurima
each
until
afflicted
this,
person
both these
in
videos.
case
It's
their
kinda
body
crazy.
gave out under the stress of the procedure. Empowered by the new crystal, Viktor's machines went to work and, gradually, the damage from the toxins began to reverse. His work would save these people, and had Viktor retained more than a fragment of his humanity, he might have celebrated. As it was, all he allowed himself was a hint of a smile. Before the process could complete, Jayce burst in and started smashing the laboratory with his energized hammer. Knowing an arrogant fool like Jayce would not listen to reason, Viktor ordered his robots to kill him. The battle was ferocious and only ended when Jayce shattered the crystal Viktor had taken, bringing the entire warehouse down in an avalanche of steel and stone. killing those Viktor was trying to save.
I like that he kind
And
of just
for
sped through
this,
that part since he put it in the
Jayce
other video.
returned to Piltover, not as a murderer or a criminal, but as a hero. Viktor escaped the distraction of the laboratory and returned to his mission of improving humanity by ridding it of its destructive emotional impulses. In Viktor's mind, Jayce's blind attack only proved his point. Viktor did send chem-augmented thugs to raid Jayce's laboratory. This was, at least Viktor told himself, not for revenge, but to learn if there were any more shards of the Shuriman crystal. The raid was unsuccessful, however, and Viktor thought no more of Jayce. Instead, he focused his efforts on finding a way to push humans into the next evolutionary stage. Sometimes his research is viewed as unethical in both Piltover and Zone, but it is necessary to bring about Viktor's glorious evolution.
Jesus.
Talk about Singe's like right hand.
Viktor
man.
decided to make one of the houses in the Ember Flint Alley his new home. It was shrouded by fog and hardly anyone ventured here. This is why he chose this place. He preferred not to be interrupted. He was just operating on himself. His third hand fired a thin ray of light that welded metal into his left arm. The smell of burning flesh no longer bothered him, nor did the sight of his left wrist splayed open, veins and muscles fused with his augments. He did not wince. Instead, he felt a sense of achievement gazing at the seamless blend of synthetic and organic materials. The sound of children shouting outside gave Viktor a pause. Keeping his left arm immobile, Viktor adjusted a silver dial on his iridoscope. The device contained a series of mirrored lenses that angled light to allow him full view of the streets outside his laboratory. Several children were violently shoving a boy toward Viktor's iron gates. "I doubt Naf will last a minute in there," said a girl with imitation gemstone embedded above her eyes. "I bet he comes with a brass head," said a boy with a shock of red hair. "Maybe then his brain won't be dull as grey. You better return with something we can sell, or we'll be the ones giving you a new head," said the largest one, grabbing the small boy by the neck and forcing him forward. The other children backed away, watching. The young boy trembled as he approached the towering gate, which screeched as he pushed it open. He passed the front door, encrusted with interlocking gears, and shimmered through an open window. An alarm went off as he fell to the floor. Viktor sighed and pressed a switch that quieted the ringing. The skinny boy stared at the new environment. Glass jars containing organic and metal organs floating in green fluid lined the walls. A leather gurney
exactly like
stained
Singe.
with blood, upon which laid mechanized drill sat in the center of the chamber. Dozens of automatons stood motionless against every wall. To Viktor, his laboratory was a sanctuary of his most creative and vital experiments, but he could imagine it might seem frightening to the child. The boy's eyes widened in shock when he saw Viktor at his workbench, arms splayed open on the table. He ducked behind a nearby crate.
"You will not learn anything from that box, child,"
said Viktor.
"but on top of it you will find a bone chisel. Hand it to me, please."
A trembling hand reached to the top of the crate and grabbed the handle of the rusted tool. The chisel slid across the floor to Viktor, who picked it up.
"Thank you,"
said Viktor, who wiped off the instrument and continued work on his arm. Viktor heard the boy's rapid breathing.
"I'm replacing the twisting flexor tendons. The broken mechanism in my wrist.
Viktor said, reaching into his arm to adjust a bolt.
Would you like to watch?"
The boy peeked his head around the crate. "Does it hurt?" said the boy.
"No.
Said Viktor.
When one eliminates the anticipation and fear of pain, it becomes entirely bearable.
Oh,
It also helps that my arm is almost completely mechanized. See for yourself."
the boy stepped away from the crate and sat across from Viktor without a word, eyes fixed on his arm. Viktor resumed welding
really
a new
scary
bolt
sight to see.
drive onto the tendons
Just
beneath
open
his skin.
tendons and shit.
When he had finished, he sealed the flaps of dermis onto his arm. He drew a beam of light across the seam. cauterizing his flesh and fusing the incision. Why did you do that? The boy asked. Didn't your arm work fine as it was?
Do you know what humanity's greatest weakness is?
No, said the boy.
Humans consistently ignore the endless infinity of possibilities in favor of maintaining the status quo.
The boy gave him a blank stare.
People fear change.
Viktor said.
They settle with fine when they could have exceptional.
Viktor walked to his stovetop. He mixed a blend of dark powder and downpour cream into a saucepan, heating the liquid with his laser.
Would you like a
Something
glass
for
of
the
sweet
kid.
For
milk?
the kid.
Said Viktor.
A weakness of mine, but I have always enjoyed the anise flavor.
You're not going to solve my head and replace it with a metal one?
Right.
Ah, is that what they think
Jeez.
of me now?
Viktor asked. Pretty much, said the boy. I heard one kid had theirs replaced just because they had a cough,
Did you get this information directly?
said Viktor. No, it was my neighbor Berma's cousin. Or uncle. Or something like that.
Ah, well, in that case.
Would replacing someone's head even get rid of a cough?
Now you're asking the right questions.
Said Viktor.
No, I imagine it would not be much of an upgrade. Coughing stems from the lungs, you see. And to your earlier point, I am not going to saw your head off and replacing with a metal one. Unless, of course, you want that.
No, thanks, said the boy. Viktor poured the thick liquid into 2 mugs and passed one to the boy, who stared longingly at the hot drink.
It is not drugged.
Said Viktor and took a sip from his own mug. The boy gulped down the sweet milk.
Sweet, sweet milk.
It's interesting how in both of their stories, Viktor and Jayce, they added a child and they got to like kind of compare their intellect to the child, just having a genuine conversation.
Yeah.
Without, you know what I mean? Just being human for a moment. So it's crazy how they are painting it. Like I didn't expect Viktor to just be down here just doing normal people shit now.
Oh, he's
you know
just
what I
working
mean?
on himself.
Yeah, I didn't
whole
expect that. I thought he might get outlawed out of the city or something like that for taking all these people. Especially like, you know, in Arcane, him just in a way, you know, being a hive mind, all these people. I thought people would have like ran him out of the city or some shit. But
Well,
he's
I
just,
think he's they think he's dead and he's just some other being.
I mean, kids know where he's at. If children know where he's at, I'm pretty sure. You
Yeah,
know,
true.
Other people have to know. Yeah, so it's
Are the others still watching outside? Said the boy through stained teeth. Viktor glanced through his iridoscope. The 3 children were still waiting by the front entrance.
I'd send
Indeed
a
they
robot
are.
out there.
Do you wish to give them a scare?
Nice.
Viktor said.
Nice.
The boy's eyes lit up and he nodded. Viktor handed him a sonophone and said,
Scream as loud as you can into this.
The boy gave an exaggerated, blood-curdling shriek into the sonophone. It echoed along the Amberflint alley, and the other children jumped in terror, quickly scattering to hide. The boy looked at Viktor and grinned,
I find that fear is more often than not limiting emotion.
said Viktor.
Tell me something that scares you, for example.
The Cambarans.
The Cambarans are feared because they project an air of dominance and often the threat of violence. If no one feared them, people would stand up to them. And then, where would their power go? Away, exactly. Think of how many Cambarans exist compared to how many people live in Zone. Fear is used by powerful few to control the weak because they understand how fear works. If someone can manipulate your emotions, they can control you.
I guess that makes sense, but I'm still afraid of them, said the boy.
Of course you are. Patterns of fear are carved deep into your very flesh. Steel, however, has no such weakness.
Viktor retrieved a vial containing minuscule silver beads floating in milky fluid.
That is where I may be able to assist.
He said.
I developed an augmentation that eliminates fear altogether. I could let you try it out for a short time.
How short?
The implant will dissolve in 20 minutes.
You're sure it's not permanent?
It can be, but not this one. You might find that without fear your friends out there lose their grip. Bullies feed on fear, you see, and without it, they will starve.
The boy nursed his drink,
Damn.
considering the offer. After a
That's
moment,
crazy.
he nodded to Viktor, who inserted a thin needle into the vial and injected one of the silver beads into the skin behind his ear. The boy shuddered for a moment, then smiled.
Do you feel
Whose
your
child is
weakness
this, bro?
falling away?
Child is
Viktor
on,
asked.
man.
God
Oh
damn.
yes,
Just abandoned.
said the boy. Viktor walked him to the door and twisted a dial to unlock it before waving him out.
Remember, you can always return if you wish for a more permanent solution.
A wave of fog created a ghostly silhouette around the boy as he emerged from the laboratory. Viktor returned to his workbench to watch the experiment through his iridoscope. Amberflint Alley was empty, but as soon as the boy walked out, his companions emerged. "Where's our souvenir?" asked the red-haired boy. "Doesn't seem like Nav has
crazy
held up
story.
his end of the deal," said the girl. "Guess we have to punish him," added the large boy. "We did promise him a new head today after all." "Don't touch me," said Nav. He raised himself to his tallest height. The bully reached for Nav's neck, but Nav turned and punched him square in the face. Blood streamed from the bully's nose. "Grab him!"
That's great.
the bully screamed. But his companions were no longer interested in
Turn
grabbing
this
him.
kid into Robin.
Nav stepped toward the bullies. They stepped back. "Get away from me," he said. The bullies eyed each other, then turned to Ren. Viktor closed his iridoscope and returned to his work. He stretched the fingers on his newly repaired arm and tapped them on his desk in satisfaction. And that is the incredible story of Viktor. I have to say, this
That's
may
gonna be
be
a
my
crazy
new
twist to see
all-time
how
favorite champion
That is
story
very crazy.
Riot has released. If you read through all the stories and connect them to Viktor, it gains an insane amount of layers. From the origins of
That's crazy.
hexacrystals and Jayce's lying, to the way children live in Zone and the way people formed religion around Viktor, counteracting his purpose. The more you read into it, the more you realize that Viktor is definitely not a black or white character. And
Yeah.
despite his methods, he ultimately may have all the right answers for everything. Never before has a story made me question the way humanity works. But enough of philosophy for now. If you enjoyed this video, you can always click subscribe.
Thank you, Necrit. Appreciate it a
I
lot.
appreciate your insight. Yeah, no, I kind of felt the same way, like, towards the end. It's kind of generally what I was getting ready to say is, it's interesting because at the beginning of that, I was like, yeah, this man's not well, you know, but, like, the more I got into it, like, he almost felt like towards the end, he almost gave off, like, Batman vibes, you know what I mean, like, empowering the city of Zon, because, I mean, the hard part is, with this story, the way they did in League of Legends was already really good, because with Jayce not really being a likable person and kind of coming from a rich family and stuff like that, it's like, is he right for having that morality when it came to free will? It's like, yeah, he would be right in that instance. But with Viktor, it seems like he's more for the people and he's a people's person.
Yeah.
So he wants, you know, which is ironic because he wants to take away people's free will, or that's the hard part. Some of people's free will.
And some of their emotions.
Yeah, and some of their emotions, because he believes that he knows best. But at the other side of it, he's doing it for people to try to help people. So it's interesting how they both have like unfavorable traits and then also positive traits to be trying to help people and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
very interesting, man. Very interesting. That has me deciding, like, damn, do I like Arcane's version of the lore better, or do I like League? And that's the thing is, as long as Riot comes and they deliver something that's like equal or greater value, then it's just like, you know, if a change happens, like, from my perspective, you know. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that, though. Do you guys like the lore version a lot better? Do you like Arcane version better? Do you think they're both good, you know?
I'm just coming from
Interesting.
since I watched Arcane before I actually played League of Legends, so I think it's really the Arcane is very good. But like coming and watching this and seeing their lore story and how they actually were as characters, and then seeing them on the screen cinema version is kind of like crazy.
Yeah.
It's like almost like day and night, black and white. Like kind of how he was saying about Viktor. He's not a very bad guy, but he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like it's not black and white.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. This has me like, thinking a lot, honestly, because I'm just like, man, it's so interesting. Viktor's mentality, like both of the bits with the kids for both of them, like I said, just added a whole nother element because it brought out the humanity in both of them. You know, Jayce was still an asshole, but at the same time, he didn't mind fixing the toy.
Yeah.
He just, you know, once you get to the end of the story, you realize he doesn't know who to trust at this point because you have Viktor who can hive mind people and send robots and is trying to attack you. And, you know, I mean, he did send people to attack him right moments after that. So it's, you know, just interesting stuff. And it seems like they're both aware of what people think about them. You know what I mean? And they're just like, I feel it, but
whatever.
you know what I mean?
So
but
gonna
like,
do me.
we gotta greatness is gonna be misunderstood. You know, so yeah, good shit. Yeah, it has me rethinking a lot of things, honestly. Yeah, all right, man.
Yeah.
My mind's kind of fucked. This is a great one. I really like this one. Yeah, you guys let us know if there's any other videos. I think by this week, Arcane should be over. So I feel like I know. No. So I think Arcane Season 2 is definitely going to open up a lot of other doors.
Definitely a lot more stories.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to open up and announce the story's going to tell you which directions they're going to have. So that might dictate some of the content, like how we choose to focus on what first and all that good stuff. I'm sure like another show or anything's not going to be coming out for a good amount of time.
Ionia.
But,
I want to say they're going to do Ionia.
yeah, Ionia. Every region's great. Ionia, yes. I mean, obviously, like Singe, there's like the whole war and stuff like that. That now that they have Singe, they can go and do that. But how long is it going to take Singe to actually develop these weapons to actually go to war with the whole nation of Ionia? You know what I mean? It seems like that might take a while. You can do time skip. So many options. Are they going to go to Shurima right now because of Mel and because of Mbessa, you know, and all that stuff? Are they going to, you know, who knows? Who knows? So many ways they can go. I'm excited for it all.
I'm excited for it too. I can't wait.
Yeah,
And I'm
here for
the ride.
Yeah. Tell us the next reason you guys would like to see the most. I mean, not according to the timeline because things are changing, this and that, but just what would you like to see the most? Post that down below, and if you guys want to join the Discord, obviously in the description. And that's all I got.
Patreon.
Oh yeah, if you guys also want to see the uncut versions of all of our videos and content, also get bonus content.
Yep.
If you guys want voting power on like which videos you guys actually want to see, you can go there and vote. Obviously, I tell you guys to comment down in the comments just so I can get an idea what shows people actually even want to see, and then I'll take it over to Patreon and then be like, hey, these are the top 5 to 10 lore videos or league videos or animes, whatever, that people are trying to watch. What do you guys vote on? And then we like narrow it down from there. So, so yeah, and our tier for voting is the $1 tier. So it's just, you know, basically just becoming a member of our community. So, all right, y'all.
Yep. You also don't gotta do $1. It's free too.
Yeah, we also have the free one, but you don't get to vote when it's free. But you can join and you can get updates on all our different information. We do have free posts and updates and behind the scenes content, stuff like that. We do post there just because we're building our community. So appreciate y'all.
And until then, we'll see you next time.
Much love. Peace.